United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
All right, everybody. Welcome to CPS Victims Hunting Justice. I am your host, CPS Punisher. I hope you all had a good weekend. Hopefully everybody stayed safe away from CPS, that nobody had any run-ins, but we know statistically that that's not true. I'm sure there's many miserable parents in this country right now and in Canada that are without their children. You know, it's really heartbreaking when you go through 9 months of, getting ready for your child to come into this world, and you go into the doctor's visits and you're trying to get to know this new baby and learn how to be a parent for the first time, maybe for the third, fourth, fifth, 14th to some people. But every time it's a special thing. And to go to the hospital, have that baby come out and have that joyous moment, just in a moment, to be taken away from you. Sometimes for reasons, sometimes for not. But just the fact that your baby can just be sniped away from you right there moments after you've had it is just a heart-crushing situation, and it's happening a lot. So today's show, we're going to get into that a little bit with our special guest. But let me bring on Herbert, the law enforcement guru, here first. And we got Josee, our Canadian friend. She's in here somewhere. Let me get her back. There's Josee. Hey, Josee, Herbert, how are you guys? Did you guys have a good weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
It was good.
All right.
Hi, Josee.
That's good. All right. Hey, guys, we got our special guest, Sal, here. We're going to bring in Sal. Sal, how are you doing, my man? I'll let you do the introductions. I don't want to say anything wrong about what you are or anything, but if you wouldn't mind maybe giving us a little introduction. Whoop, Sal, we're without your volume, buddy. We don't have your volume, Sal. Let's see here. There we go. I think we should have. There you go. Now we hear you. There we go.
All right.
I've
been in healthcare for greater than 35 years. I've also been an educator. I've been a hospital administrator. I'm a retired RN. And so I've, had a lot of experience dealing with CPS under different circumstances as a mandatory reporter, and just seeing, working with caseworkers and seeing what they have to go through.
Right. Now, Sal, you and I spoke a little bit a couple of days back, and I know you've had time to, look into what we were saying, but you were pretty unaware of the way that CPS seems to allegedly treat some of us and what they're doing, right? Like you didn't realize the mass amounts of accusations and what people are saying about how CPS is operating and what they're doing, correct?
Correct. As far as removing kids without cause.
Right. So as far as you were concerned, CPS was doing for the good of the people. They were doing the right thing. Your mandated reporters were doing what they were supposed to be doing. If there were drugs in the system with the kids, if there were, things that they saw or whatever. But then there's some other things that could be at play that wouldn't be necessarily at your hospital, but in other places that could be, like you maybe necessarily they are hand in hand with CPS, and there's money and bonuses involved in removing children. You didn't know anything about those things, right? Like that was like we had brought that to your attention for the most part, correct?
Correct.
Right. And see, this is the problem. This is the problem with all of this is everybody in America and Canada think that CPS is here doing God's work. Everything's perfect, hunky dory. They turn their heads to this stuff, but yet we have a child a minute in our country. We have a child a minute that's going into CPS custody, and there's a 12% chance of reunification. Now, there's either a hell of a lot of bad parents around here, or there's a hell of a lot of wrong reporting going on the side of CPS. That's why we're excited to have you here to kind of do some validation. This one, our friend Josie here, she lost her grandbaby at the hospital when her daughter had given birth. And this is how this even came up, is Herbert brought up the good question is, where did the authorization come? Because she was even stopped in the hallways when she was on her way to the baby ward by the security guards. So they already knew that she was
by the security guards. So they already knew that she was.
I think that might have been the Herbert there. Hey Herbert, whatever you just did, buddy, you just give us some feedback. Yeah. So Josie, this is Sal. I know that you probably have a ton of questions. So if you'd like to go ahead and give him a couple of questions, you can go right ahead, Josie.
Okay, well, yeah, exactly. Like you were saying, Herbert said, try to contact the administrators to see who would have given them permission to already have the security guards waiting for me upon arrival of me going to get my daughter and my granddaughter. Do you have any clue on who that would be? I've been waiting for 2 weeks. They haven't called back. I called back and they're not calling me back because I think they know that, I'm calling questions. So, like, how is that possible? How is it that CPS asked the hospital, like,
to keep the mother and any relative probably away from the baby?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, probably what happens is, nurses and medical professionals at the hospital are all considered mandated reporters. And if they don't report, let's say, in the situation where if a baby is born and there's drugs that test on this baby, that's an automatic mandated report. Or if it's a child that's born and shows some indication where they weren't taken care of during the prenatal care and all of that wasn't taken care of for the baby, that's a reportable thing. If a mandated reporter doesn't report, I guess one of the points to make here is it's punishable by a class 1 misdemeanor.
Oh, wow.
However, it's something that they're obligated to report on, and they don't, then it becomes a felony.
Okay,
wow.
but for my situation, my daughter was not on any drugs, and we have the confirmation now that it was actually a birth alert. So there was nobody that reported anything like drug use or whatever. There was nobody that reported it to CPS. CPS, we have the medical report that the social worker called the hospital to see if Naomi had given birth, and then she said, "Okay, I'll be there the fall, like in the afternoon." So this is the CPS, so DPG, whatever, I don't know how you guys call it there, Children's Aid, that called to confirm that my daughter had given birth, And
how did you know your daughter was pregnant to make that call to begin with? How were they connected in there somehow?
okay, so here in Quebec, like I'm in Quebec, Canada. Here in Quebec, Canada, what they do is that there's a little program that's called OLO, which is people like kids, well not kids, but moms that are maybe on the lower end who are on welfare, social assistance. They have this program where they make sure that the moms to be, are on a program where they have coupons for milk, vegetables, and something else, right? So she was
Right here
on
we
this,
call
and
it
then
WIC.
there's like a social worker that comes in and makes sure that she goes to her prenatal
Care.
care and blah blah blah. And then so they, this is where we think that they tag them, right, like the indigenous people they did in the back in the day, so they knew that she was going to give birth in around that date. So then they called the hospital and said, okay, did she have her baby yet? Okay, perfect, we'll be there the following day. And then poof, they come and take the baby. And then they gave like bogus reason the first time, and then here we are a year later, and she still doesn't have the baby. But my question to her was, why, when I went into the hospital, there was already security guards, everybody was there, so that I wouldn't go and enter into my daughter and my granddaughter's room. Like, how is that possible? How can the administration have been pre-called to be like, do not let this lady enter? Like, how does that work?
Well, CPS probably contacted somebody at the hospital and told them that, they must have had a court order to come and get the child. Otherwise, they can't just walk in a hospital and have the baby turned over. Just because you show an ID saying you're CPS, they're not going to give you a baby. They can't. The hospital legally can't do that. The only person the hospital can release a baby to is the parent, and they have to match the bracelet to that infant. Other than that, it's got to be somebody that's got a court order saying for the hospital to release this baby to this person and only this person.
Josie, did they have
They,
a court
they
order
couldn't.
in your case? Oh, sorry, Sal.
No, and that's why I'm writing this down, because they went like within like the 3 days. So they stole the baby, and then we went to court. They had no court order.
Wow, but so
They
someone in
didn't
that
have a
hospital,
judge.
though. No, go ahead, Sal. Sorry.
They didn't have a judge sign off on anything for them to go and get the child.
No, sir.
So CPS worker calls up, says, by the power of who? I mean,
That's our question
if
to
I got
you.
a phone
Like,
call,
how is that even possible? That's what we're trying to figure out too. Because yeah, match the baby.
I can tell you, if a CPS worker called me, even one that I've met and know, and said, we're on our way to pick up this child, and they don't have a court order for me to release that child to them, there is no way they are getting that child from the hospital.
Well, that's why
no
I wanted to go into that room and get the baby. That was my point. I wanted to go in and take that baby, but then there were security guards all over that were blocking me from even going into the ward. And then we left the hospital with I left with the police there, and then my daughter left with no baby. And then they went to court like 3 days later.
If we would have had a court order shown to us, or some documentation from a court saying you're to release this child only to this person and no one else, then yes, a security guy would be standing at the door and at the wing to protect the baby and for the parent to keep that contact away.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that would be the only way that kid should be released.
So
anyone other than the parent.
So last week we aired an episode where what played is that a CPS agent actually forged a judge's signature Actually, I'm sorry. They didn't forge the judge's signature. They signed in place of where the judge is supposed to sign on a takeaway order. They signed themselves. They signed the caseworker's own name. And they went in there. They tricked the police into thinking that this was an actual true document and everything. The police barged into this house and with force removed the baby from the home. All right, this is all documented. Then these people go to the court immediately after to try to figure out what's going on here. And they forged the documents in the courthouse to make it so that the judge actually signed these. Now, these people have the original order with the caseworker's signature on it that they had given to the police. And by the time they had gotten to the courthouse, they got this. My question to you is, Sal, it's not far by it to say that these guys didn't say to her hospital administrators, hey, we have this. Here's a court order right in our hand. They don't know what Judge Judy's signature looks like or anything. They could have passed this off and not known that it was an order at all, right? Because that's not a real order, so no one's going to know anything at this point. So, I mean, these are the tricks that they pull. These are the things that they pull, and these are what we're finding more and more out. You know, it's not far by a caseworker for you to come in that you, like you said, you didn't know. I mean, would you know to look at the judge's signature and match it to a judge if a caseworker came in and said, here's my order? Like, how much do you look over these orders when they come into the hospital?
Well, you look to make sure that the document is legit and that it comes, you know, from an actual court with the judge's name on it and with a signature on it. But you can also go into the court system files and you can see what orders the judge signed that day.
Okay.
So you could go in. I mean, anyone could do it. Do it for, you know, I'm sure you could do it for all of our states. I know in Arizona, anyone could go in. You look up a judge by their name and you can see all the orders they signed for that day. You should be able to find that in your states as well.
Oh, I'm gonna check into that. That's great. It seems like you guys. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
go ahead,
I would
Sal.
say, you know, that would seem a good place to search as far as Josie's situation. I'd see when your orders were all signed and who signed them.
Josie, do you have things like that up there that you have access to? Like you can access if the judge, or is it even a judge up there? I don't even know what they call them.
Yeah, we have judges too, and
right.
and it is a judge that does this stuff. But I recall like my daughter leaving the hospital, and she had to go within the 72 hours to court. But yeah, but there for sure there was no court order before that. Because, yeah, so
we'll have to look into that.
That's horrible.
I'm just kind of like in shock. Like, why didn't I think of this before? Like, kind of thing, you know. Like, this is great for me because I put my lawsuit in for child kidnapping. So my date to deposit everything will be April 2nd. So to me, this is just giving me more gravy for the lawsuit.
That's why we did it, Josie. That's why we did it.
Yeah, that's like fucking, like, I'm baffled. I'm just like, holy crap.
Right. So what other role, do you want to explain what a mandated reporter, Sal, you want to say what the mandated reporter is? Like, what are the guidelines, or just how would you explain to the people what a mandated reporter or reporting is?
Well, mandated reporting is anything that is suspected to fall under the category of neglect and or abuse of any child is reportable. Now that's a big, you know, that could be a lot of things. I mean, basically you're talking about if a child's needs are not being met. You know, if they show up in the ER and they have bruises and they say they fell. Well, is it a bruise that looks like a bruise you would get from a fall? Or is it more of a bruise that you might get from somebody punching you or somebody hitting you rather hard? And so, you know, you have to really be able to look at these situations, and each one differs. There are some states that everyone is considered mandated reporter. I looked them up to find out which states those are, and just to give you those names, it's let's see, where did I put that here? Indiana, New Jersey, North Carolina, and Wyoming. Everyone is considered a mandated reporter there.
Oh, wow.
In our state, it's teachers, school personnel, child care providers, medical professionals, mental health professionals, social workers, law professionals, even our clergy are mandated reporters. And you think how you can go to clergy and you're supposed to be able to confide in them certain things. Well, clergy members are mandated for those who aren't aware. Also, coaches, anyone who is paid to look after children are mandated reporters in the state of Arizona. So what that means is we have 24 hours in which to make a report. And like I say, thing that you believe to be, this child is in imminent danger, something could happen to them or they could die, you've got to report that within 2 hours. Now, if we don't report it, misdemeanor, class 1 misdemeanor. If it's something that falls
Yeah, but I got a question. Who would report you if you didn't report it? Like, who would report you if you didn't report it? If you saw something, but you didn't report it, who would report you to say that you didn't report it?
Yeah, I don't think she heard your answer, Sal. I think you guys crossed it. Would it be a mandated reporter would have to report you as well? Is that how that would work? So who would report you out of just if you didn't report it, or if you did report it, who would be responsible? Who's the checks and balance for you?
Mandated reporter or non-mandated reporter, anyone who comes across this same thing and believes that there is a need to report and learns that my failure to report is also a misdemeanor. However, if it's an incident that's legit and there's really neglect going on, that misdemeanor is felony. So mandated reporters better beware on reports and making sure they're not making false misdemeanor.
Right. And that's just
actual reporting.
That's the thing, is that there's all these people. So what you're telling me here is there's a lot of tattletales. Right. Exactly. Who's going to look at that? So you're telling me that there's a bunch of people that are held accountable for this child that are sitting under immunity, and they're all wanting to tell on each other because they don't want to get in trouble. It seems like a scary sight of a situation to get an innocent parent in trouble for just something that would be happening. You have a bunch of professionals here that don't want to get their image or their records nixed, and you just want to be a regular person. Like, look, this little Johnny got a bruise on his knee, nothing happened. But now you could have the nurse be calling CPS on you, saying that you didn't report it, and you could just have a whole freaking mess at hand here. And meanwhile, this poor parent and his kid is just sitting there because he has a bruise on his leg. Next thing you know, CPS is coming in and taking the kid away, and all they did was come in for this situation. It seems like it's not a foolproof. Just the question alone that you asked, like, who's to, or Josie asked too, like, okay, if you don't report, then who checks on you? you know, and I saw you slip there for a minute, and you're like, yeah, you know, like, because who does look up this stuff? But the other thing is imminent danger. Like, imminent danger is something that needs to be addressed completely. I think of imminent danger, I think of bombs, buildings blowing up, Godzilla stomping through the city. Shit is happening. So we need to go right now and take this child away. However, they take imminent danger, and in a lot of cases, we're finding a kid is in an imminent danger situation, but CPS doesn't come in for a month, and then they just all of a sudden show up out of the blue and remove a child. That's wrong. Imminent danger means you got to do it right now. What is the hospital's view of what imminent danger is? I mean, thankfully, they're in the hospital when you guys get it, you know.
Serious injury, death. You know, if you're looking at the risk of a serious injury or possible death, that's it. That you better act on that right now.
Right.
You know, I mean, we can make a report, but if C doesn't respond to that in passion, that's on them. We've done our part, and we've taken it as CPS. If it's imminent danger, also notify the police. So we can't just notify CPS. We know that. So the police, they're going to go out there and do a welfare check to make sure that the child is. If CPS out there right away, somebody's going to go.
All right, Herbert. Now this brings you into it, my man. So here we go. This is now like Sal's saying here. Sal's saying that CPS, they got to call the police. But now we got the police doing CPS's job, and we know that they're supposed to just be peacemakers, right? Like, they're not supposed to be doing the CPS thing. What do you got to say about that, Herbert? I know you do a lot of research on this stuff.
We're there to make sure there's no confrontation. If CPS is going to go and retrieve the baby or take the baby, we're going to be there so that there's no violence, no kind of confrontation that's going to take place.
Right, but Sal just said that if CPS can't get there, the police will go and do a welfare check.
I can't answer that. I can't respond to that, because if the police, if CPS cannot show, I can see where the police will be called. Then the police are sent out via CPS to do a welfare check. Now we're talking about the home, not the hospital. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we go to the home and find out if that child is safe. But we have to know what we're looking for. Right. Safe like what? What we would have to know, Sal, we have to know what it is that we're supposed to be looking for.
So in a case like yours, Sal, say...
And that would be reported.
Okay. So you would say something like, they took the kid home and it had bruises on his legs against the hospital's record. Let's just make a fake scenario here. Little Johnny came in, he had a bump on his knee. The nurse or the doctor thought that this knee thing was a little bit different than it was, but the family went against the hospital's thing and they left. So now you guys call, you make a report, correct?
Or we would make
so in this case,
if we were that
right, but let's add a little bit to it. Right, so let's just add that the parents say, no. They take the baby or the kid and they take off and they take the baby home. So now you call CPS. CPS says, hey, we're going to get there when we can get there, but you need to contact the police also. And the police go, and now they're going in front of CPS because CPS, for whatever reasons, can't get there. CPS, the police come and go to that home and they're looking for little Johnny and there's bumped knee. But what else are they looking for? Is, I guess, so there you go, Herbert. There's a scenario. He's called. He said that this is what's going on, that they left the hospital against, medical conditions. The police now are showing up and they're doing the job of the CPS agent, apparently, because they can't get there because they're obviously busy. But now the police are playing this role, so they're there to look for the bumped knee on little Johnny and what's going on at the family home, I'm assuming.
I would go there. I would go with that the police are there to see the little bump on Johnny's knee.
And then just now, who makes that decision?
Well, we can't. We're not medical people, so CPS has to respond. We'll wait for them.
So you would just call up now being the police officer and say, yep, he's got a bump on his knee, but I don't see any reason here to think that he's getting abused by his family. That would be kind of what you would say.
I can't make that call. That's between the hospital and CPS. Now the hospital made the call to CPS,
Right.
Because Sal's the administrator. So the doctors went to Sal and said, hey, listen, this doesn't look like a little fall. This looks like more than a fall.
Mhm.
Okay. So then that's when Sal decides he's going to call CPS. He calls CPS. They're going to assign probably security to the door. But meanwhile, mom or dad takes the baby and leaves.
Mhm.
Okay. CPS is notified that they left the hospital. CPS now will contact us that they left the hospital. Here's the address that they're supposed to be at. We will respond to that address. Upon arrival, we're going to ask to gain entry. They're going to refuse. Fine, we will stay there all night until CPS shows up with something that can get in there, court order or some kind of something signed by the judge. Am I correct, Sal? Because they left, because your doctors found the problem with the baby. Okay, your doctors
into the house.
Right.
Yeah, so your doctors found a problem. They went to you as the administrator. You contact CPS. CPS contacts us because they can't get there on time. Usually what will happen is CPS will contact us anyway because they will get there on time. So they just want us to be there to avoid any confrontation.
But you see what I'm saying here, that this is kind of now taking a role because now you have a preemptive decision to make when you get there because they're asking you to go look after this child. So now the police are taking where they're supposed to be just making sure that they're a peacekeeper. Now you're being pushed into a preemptive role of being a CPS reporter yourself because now they're telling you as a police officer, go in there and see what's going on.
No, they got to be there. We'll wait for you.
Okay, so you as a police officer,
before you get there, but we're going to wait for you.
All right, so as a police officer, you shouldn't be moving in on that. You should say, okay, we're here at this address. Maybe get eyes on the kid, but that's it. That's the extent that you're going.
Right, unless the word that Sal used was imminent. Like, for example, the child's been stabbed.
Right.
Okay, well, we're going to get that child out of there. We're going to get an ambulance, and we're going to put that child in an ambulance, CPS shows or not.
Right. And that's the way it should be, right? Like that's it. In the perfect world, that's the way the scenario breaks down. But more often than not, we're seeing different roles in this. We're seeing police kick doors open, Herbert, right? Like we're seeing without warrants. We're seeing
doors are kicked open with a warrant. But if somebody falsifies the judge name or puts it in the spot, now the problem is going to be with the CPS personnel that signed. It's going to be with the police officer that didn't verify that that's really the judge's signature.
Right.
So CPS and the police are going to be in trouble.
Right. So how many times though have we seen this just in the videos that you find alone?
Yeah. Well, I saw your video, and it was the CPS personnel that signed in the spot where the judge's supposed to sign. Mm-hmm. Now I should have looked at that and said, "Wait a minute, that's not the judge's signature."
But Sal wouldn't know. You know, Sal wouldn't have any idea if he wasn't up to par on that, and no one would really expect him to.
No, Sal. Okay, I see what you're saying. So in other words, Sal would. Well, the judge's name is on the bottom, but you're right. If the judge signs scribble scrabble, we can't make out the judge's name. So we're going to assume Sal is going to assume that's the judge's signature.
Right. And Josie,
I
go
have
ahead.
a question for Sal. So my question to you, sir, is okay. Like, you guys would call the police, but my question to you is that, are the people that work in the hospital immune to have any charges from the police to them? I don't know if that makes sense. Like like say if I want to press a charge against someone in CPS, the police say it's not their jurisdiction and they can't do anything because they work under the immunity clause saying that they can do no harm. So is the people in the hospital under that same thing that the police can't go charge them for doing something?
Okay. To make sure that I'm understanding the question, so you're wanting to know if the hospital are immune from any charges being brought against them for recording? Is that what you're asking? Again,
Yeah.
if it's a false report filed in the state of Arizona, absolutely, they can be charged. It's a class 1 misdemeanor. It's punishable by at least 6 months in jail, $1,000 fine. Now, what it would be for you, I don't know what the law there would be around that.
But
you
would
could
it
certainly,
be
do a
would it be
Google
the
search.
individual or would it be the insurance because they were working? That, like, how would that work? Because would you charge the individual, or would it be automatically like the insurance policy, the union, because the person was working?
The facility and all of those. If an employee
I know what you mean.
knowingly files a false report, they are not going to be covered by the insurance or protected under their job if they knowingly file a false report.
If they knowingly file,
Because they're going to be fired from the job. Doing so is it's found out.
right.
That's the way. Now, does it work that way?
Right.
It works that way every place? Probably.
Right. So this is what's happening in this
But it
country, in
should
both of
work
these
that
places.
way.
Right. So this is what, Sal, to give you a little insight, what happens is these CPS workers, like my case, for instance, she falsified the hell out of everything. I reported. The thing is, they have no reason to not do this and continue with their actions because the insurance companies take the brunt of the error. You see, instead of the caseworker themselves being held liable and the penalties put on them, these insurance companies take this, they wipe it off their shoulders, thank you very much, and still move on with their job. And there's no effect to that individual person. So why would they continue or correct their paths of how they do things? Because without any sort of, penalty for doing these things, why would you stop? You're getting more money. You're getting more money for adopting this child. They've incentivized this stuff. So these caseworkers are stopping at nothing to, fudge a little document. And if you come at them as a parent right now, the only thing that's doing is that's deflected off to the union people. The caseworker continues their job. Or what really happens is in this country, the caseworkers get promoted or they get put into a different division. So their flaw doesn't, span out throughout their thing. They're gone, so it looks like to the eye that caseworker no longer is here. Well, they're here, but they're in, Bangor division or some other, part of the DHS institution. And that's what they're doing. And no one is going with any penalties. Like the insurance company has a checkbook bigger than CPS's, they'll write that check for whatever they got to. The thing that she thinks she's asking and what she's getting about is, you're right, they're protected under the immunity. And you also said if they prove that they did this in ill will. But that's a whole nother argument to try to figure out in another investigation to see if they did this, if they didn't. This is where you get into this corruption thing is, okay, well, Joanne from CPS is friends with Bonnie, the nurse at the hospital. They know what they're looking for. These guys can talk. Bonnie at the hospital knows what to say to get this baby taken out of here. And this is the scenario that's happening. That all of these people are in cahoots with each other. So it's going to be hard for you as a hospital administrator because you've already said that it's hard to, there's people in the overlookers to overlook and see that this. But if you think everybody's doing everything by the book and doing their best judgment, how do you put a stop to that? Or how do you see that what's really going on? Like in Josie's situation, they said that it was a birthing alert. Okay, well, someone at the hospital must have said that Josie's daughter was there having the baby, right? And then someone from the hospital had to know somebody to report it to. So this all could be in cahoots with each other. And you have this big collision, and you guys in the administrator's office have no idea that this is even going on, because it looks to you like the best judgment of this person is being run. So what do we, out of all of that realm, like, what do we do here?
Yeah, well, just to back up and clarify something first, as a hospital, I'm not the person who would be making that report. First would be making the report, or whoever it is that comes that incident, whatever it may be, the first person who comes across that is the mandated reporter. I'm the mandated reporter, yes, and as an administrator, you're a mandated reporter to make sure that your employees are reporting things based on the law. And so, one thing I want to clarify, I would be a reporter if something was, if I came across something and I was first person contact to that, or I found out had reported it, then yes, I'm expected to. But otherwise, it's always the first point of contact. Now, the other thing is, where are all these decent attorneys in all of this? Because being an attorney jumping all over the kinds that are happening. I mean, if people are just having their babies and kids snatched, somebody's got to be on top of that. And like I say, I believe that the individuals get held accountable. Sure, you're protected bit of the immunity, so to speak, but for a legitimate report. Falsifying a report, you're not protected. And I don't know how the insurance companies, or why the insurance companies would even want to protect the person.
Right. I mean, this goes like
that.
Well, I mean, so just so you can see how it works.
Nurses, and there definitely are corrupt nurses out there. I've been witness to a couple of those myself. So yes, I know they're out there. Are there corrupt caseworkers out there? Sure. Are there corrupt people in our world? Yes. Something's got to be done to stop.
But here's the thing: is that you're doing all of this.
As the administrator, I saw to it that not only were the nurses fired from the hospital, but before the nursing board, sure that they lost their license, so they wouldn't be allowed to practice nursing again for the rest of their life. They lost their license. That's it. They're done.
See, we need more of yous, because I have a feeling that if you were involved at Josie's situation isn't happening right now. Like you seem to be pretty hip to what's supposed to be going on in the rules and now the procedures. I mean, for Josie, they didn't have a warrant. They had no signed warrant. They had nothing to even do. And these guys still let the CPS people come in and take the baby. It's a scary thing. I've dealt with police officers that when my situation happened, that are friends of mine, and they wouldn't even touch this with a 10-foot pole because they're afraid themselves too of being under the microscope of CPS, because they have the God card, like they can make or break you in a moment, and once CPS puts their eyes on you, I know you're probably not familiar with this style, but what they do to you and your integrity and how you're viewed by other people, you're just pushed right through the ringer, man. And you are just, by the time it's done, it spits you out, and you're not worth, the weight of anything. Like you're nothing. You're a parent that lost their kid to CPS. Everybody looks at you as an abuser. They don't want to hear what you've had to say. And you know what? I was one of those people. If you told me that CPS took your kid, then immediately I'm done talking to you. You must be a piece of trash. You're a kid beater. You're a pedophile. You're of the worst magnitude of whatever. And the thing is a majority of these parents aren't. CPS has it wrong 86% of the time. If anybody was wrong at your hospital 86% of the time, no one's coming there for that doctor. So how is it that we're allowing these people with such poor numbers and work still be able to infiltrate a hospital and allow all this collusion to go on and still take babies? It's just crazy. Is there a fear that CPS is going to come knocking on your door, or the nurses or someone?
Yeah.
That's
again, they wouldn't walk out with a kid. Not in a situation like what you described. You don't have a warrant. You're not getting any place near that kid. The kid's going home with the parent.
I think Josie wants to get your number so that when she goes to court, she's got a guy to tell these people what's up and up.
Yeah, different, from one state to the other, and then from person to person too. How I am as an administrator might be different from, thousands, millions others. Everyone is
Right.
your own individual person, and your character, how you are as a person, and expect of yourself. I hold myself to high when it comes to caring for kids and elderly or any kind of patient. So, I have a patient responsibility that they're going to get the best care, and that care is going to be a legit. It's not going to be this kind of BS. And just because you work for CPS, sorry. And if there's a consistent pattern, when you talk about, somebody coming in and being able to remove a kid from, it's also going to fall into what I would consider that's a high alert for the hospital, and that's something that needs to be looked into. How often does that happen? Who are the caseworkers involved? Who are the nurses involved? Is there a consistent pattern here? And
I got a question for you. Is there a possibility that a civilian person could get that information from the can we as civilians find that information of how many times this happened, who takes it? Is there stats on that, and how can we the public find those stats on that one hospital?
Well, sure, there's stats on it because they have to keep record of it. So, now we get that. They're going to tell you it's confidential information, and if you want it, you need to have a lawyer to get it. And most likely, that's what it's going to take for you to get it. Now, the only other way that you might be able to get it is hospitals are, they're governed by licensing, they're governed by accreditation. And so whether it's an accreditation of hospital organizations, also known as JCAHO, you might be able to get a report through them on a facility. And they might even have them posted on their website. So
what was that? What was that name of that? The J, what is it?
It's all capital letters. J, C is in cat, A is in apple, H is in hello, and O is in orange. And it stands for the Joint Commission Accreditation of Healthcare Organization.
JCAHO. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and many hospitals, if you accept Medicare or Medi-Cal or any of those kind of state or federal government funding, you're required to be accredited through that organization. Even though they call it a voluntary or accreditation, if you're not accredited with them, you can't bill to those funding to receive pay.
Okay.
So I
that's
can
nice.
find out if the hospitals in your area are accredited by that organization and go on their site and do a search. Once you get into their site, you can do a search of the hospital that you're looking for and get that report on their last site visit. How did they do? You might be able to go in the back, weaving around in there to find it.
That's awesome. So, Josee, it looks like you got to find the equivalent to the JCH, the JCAHO in Canada.
Yeah, I put that down. Joint Administration Health Organization stats. Yeah, I got that.
So that's a good one. Sal, do you guys get any sort of training from CPS that come in and they tell you guys what to look for as a reporter position?
No, not unless you request it. We could request them to come in and train our staff, and staff being from administrator all the way through. You can request training from anybody, and most agencies will accommodate the hospital and come in and do training. So you can get that for your employees, but we have policies and procedures that our employees have to follow. They're all expected to adhere to the facility policies and procedures. Those are usually geared towards your state licensing and all your accreditation agencies. And so the employees adhere to all of those, or are expected to. And failure to adhere to them is cause for termination. So it's either you do it or you don't.
And in that policy, it would be clear to say that the baby is not to be left with anybody except the mother, right? In that policy?
Yeah, absolute.
Okay.
Yeah. And that would be another thing that you might try and gain access to is their policies. And there's ways of getting that. You could be a caller who calls on the phone and you want to talk to, let's see, if it's related to babies and whatnot, you might want to call and talk to the director of nursing and or whoever's over their policy and procedures for that. And you want to tell them that you work at another place and you're getting your policies and procedures together, and you just wanted to see how they handle situations like such and such. And, would they mind sharing a copy of their policy with you?
It's a great idea.
A lot of hospitals will do that. They'll share policies out like that. So you might be able to get your hands on policy by making a phone call. You might have to protect somebody else, but you might be able to come across policy that way.
Right. Herbert, I think we got you back now. What do you have any questions for Sal? We're getting close to our time, guys. So if you've got one good last question to come up with, this is the time to do it. And then if anybody out there's watching, if they have a question that they want to pose to Sal before we wrap this up, go ahead and throw it in that chat and we'll see if we can get to it. But Herbert, do you got anything that you wanted to ask Sal about?
Yeah, I do. On behalf of Jonesy, I have a question. So shouldn't the hospital notify the parent that they no longer have rights to see their child, not to be informed by a security guard at the door?
Right. No, they should have been informed by someone else, even if they had security guard present, in case they feared, how that parent might react. They might want security as a backup standing nearby. But yeah, hospital staff should have informed the parent that.
So, Jonesy, did you have any inkling or any idea that you were going to be confronted with a defense from the hospital not being able to see your child?
No, I had no idea. I came up the elevator and they were there.
That's awful. That's just awful.
That's
Josie,
terrible.
do you have any last questions for Sal? You got some good stuff you want to ask him before we close this out?
Well, I want to say thank you for all this little information that you just like spit out tonight. It's very insightful, and I got homework to do again, and I like your calling with the policy plan. I'm gonna look at the stats. Thank you very much. Whoops, my dogs are. Thank you very much for being on the show. Thank you.
You're welcome. Glad I could be of some help to you.
Yeah, Sal. Thank you so much for coming out here. And I mean, it's a big deal for someone like you in your position to put their neck out like this. And you're not necessarily going against them, but you're telling the truth to the people, and this is what people need to hear. And so thank you very much for doing this. This is it really does mean a lot, and a lot of people just got some good information, because maybe if they lost their kids in such a way that maybe you just gave them a chance to get their kids back. So thank you very much for that.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, Sal, maybe down the ride we can get you to come back in sometime and give us an update on things that you've learned and seen, and we can do something like that.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, Sal.
All right. Take care.
All right. Herbert, sorry about that was awesome. That was very good. Josie, Merry Christmas. That's from Herbert. So sorry about that, Herbert. You were giving some feedback, but I think we got that covered now. But what did you think, Herbert?
Oh, I thought it was good. I thought it was good information. It's just that it brought some things to my brain. Josie, did CPS ever give you an inkling of an idea that they were going to be involved? No. Okay. And the hospital never called you? Okay. So you went up to visit your baby. Why was the baby in the hospital again?
She was giving birth. She was 3 days old.
Okay. So you're going to go up and see your grandchild.
Well, I was technically supposed to go pick her up and bring her to my house.
You were going to pick up your grandchild and bring it to your house?
Because the day before, I talked to the social worker, and she's like, we're going to let her go to your house while we do the investigation with Naomi. And I said, okay. So the next morning, I was going to pick up my daughter and my grandbaby and bring them home. And then while I walked up in the elevator, poof, the plans had changed without telling me, and the security guards were there, and I wasn't even allowed to say goodbye. I did not even, nothing. Okay. So what I'm hearing is that your daughter knew. Well, she knew that morning, saying like, they're taking her to foster care.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, but your daughter knew before you knew.
Well,
and your daughter never advised you.
She was there giving birth.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm under the assumption she was conscious, and that hospital personnel or CPS informed your daughter of what's going on and what's going to go on, but your daughter never shared that with you, nor did CPS, nor did the hospital. But then on the other hand, was it their responsibility to talk to grandma?
Yes, because
I would say,
confided the baby to me.
Yeah, they gave the baby to her, to her responsibility.
Okay, so CPS gave you the authority to come and take the baby.
Correct.
Okay, so therefore CPS dropped the ball by not contacting you, saying, nope, something came up, you can't take the baby.
But nothing should have come up between that points. Like, there shouldn't have been anything anyway. That's the whole thing here. There's no drugs, there's no violence, there's no anything. Exactly. This is just
yeah, that's a whole different level. But I'm just trying to figure out, why did grandma get up in the elevator and only be confronted with security?
Right. That's what we're trying to get to here.
So
that's what we're trying to find out too. Yeah.
Okay. The other part of that is, do we know for a fact there was no drugs in the baby, or was there drugs?
No drugs. No drugs.
Okay. So I think that if you follow what Sal said, and touch bases to try to get protocol and try to find out more information, you might be able to get to the bottom of this.
Maybe, but
Why was the
it's
child
been
taken?
2 weeks now that I've called the administrator. They haven't called me back.
No, instead we got you one. We went out and got you one.
I know, perfect. Thank you.
So the administrator hasn't called you back, and
but now I know.
I'm sure if
now-
you stay in
now
touch with
I'll-
Sal,
I like his plan about calling and asking for them to just like. I'll just say that I'm still in the military and I'm looking for policy. Yeah, I got
Yeah.
it. I got it.
yeah, you got it. You're smart, Josie. You're smart. You know how to
Yeah.
work it. So yeah, you military. You also want to know the policies on situations like that and what happens with, and give them a scenario and everything, and hear what the hospital administration has to say.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys. Well, that's our time today. I know it seems so fast sometimes.
It did go
Like,
by
I just
fast.
thought that we
Oh my
just were
God.
getting on, but it's over.
I'm sorry for us this week. I totally dropped the ball because this week our kids are on spring break.
Oh.
We have the week off.
Oh my God, it's already spring break time too. Holy
Yeah,
smokes. This
so
year's just
that's
flying.
why it's like they didn't have school today. So I thought we were still Sunday. I was
Right.
still in vacation mode.
Josie, it's Josie Mondays. It's your show. What are you talking about?
I know. That's what I
You
mean.
just threw it away.
You text me. Damn.
All right.
So let me visualize this, Josie. When they're on spring break, what do? They play outside in igloos?
Yeah, we have an igloo.
Do you?
A plastic
So
one from
they play.
Costco. Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking about a real
We
igloo.
don't have igloos here.
Do you guys even have snow up there yet this
Yeah,
year?
we do, but it's get this week, like everything that was supposed to be like outdoorsy, like to do stuff like the skating rinks and everything, it's going to be super warm. So all the like winter stuff are canceled pretty much. Like
Yeah, I'm
skiing
hearing-
and stuff, they're like, our snow is like, it's going to be too warm. So all the
Yeah,
winter stuff is
I'm
done.
the same way. In Maine, we don't even have snow, and
We
we're
have a
usually
little bit
digging
of
out
snow,
still.
but not much.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So what about polar bears? Do you have them walking through your neighborhood?
Yeah, Herbert,
an
that's
urban
Alaska.
legend. No.
Josie, since
Hey,
you're the
listen,
grandmother,
anything
does that
north
mean
of
that they're going to
the
put you on an iceberg and throw you out to the ocean?
Yeah, I'm a woman. I need to be saved.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, okay. No, I mean I'm just going by
Oh, babe,
what I hear on
It's by the side of the
media.
desk. Hurry up.
You know
No.
about different places.
My husband
Good
has
guess.
an
You're
electric
north of
car.
the state.
It works here.
Oh, it does.
Yes.
His doors doesn't freeze up.
No,
Oh, wow.
Oh wow, that's cool.
I know.
That's really something. Oh, never mind. Oh, all right, guys. Thank you guys very much. Today was great. We got a lot of information out. Herbert, this is all to you, man. Thank you for getting Sal on.
He was wonderful. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Herbert, you
Yeah,
come
I'm
up with
working
some great guests, man.
I'm working on getting a retired CPS person on. I'm trying to contact this individual who worked for CPS, did the job of getting babies and stuff, no longer works for CPS, and I'm trying to communicate with them.
Oh, sweet. And we'll
Because
make
they'll
sure
be
that
able to.
we're going to
they'll
book
be
those
able
ones
to-
for Mondays, for Josie Mondays. That way she can always be in on this.
Okay, but I got to try to get to the person first and convince them and make them feel comfortable to come on to give us the ins and out, because they're really the missing piece.
Yes, they are. That, and we got to find a lawyer. So if there's any lawyers out here that are watching that want to join us, please do. You can get a hold of us at info@abolishcps.com. That's the email address. I didn't put it on today because I wanted I didn't put the scrolls on today because I want everybody to pay attention to what we were talking about over looking at that ticker. But that was it. So check us out. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we got the sheriff again, Jeff Glazer. He'll be on here with us. So we'll hear more of his story tomorrow. And Josie, 7 more days from now, you'll be back on with us.
Yeah, I have something super exciting, but I'll tell you guys next week. You guys, your head is gonna spin.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll be looking for it. All right, guys. Thank you very much for coming on.
Josie could visit. Josie could visit tomorrow, can't she? Can't she visit to hear the sheriff? Because
Josie can come in and visit whenever she wants. And tell you what, Josie has an open invitation. I'll always send her the link. If she wants to pop in, she can be there.
Yeah, don't just think you're locked into Monday. It's just that we talk
Herbert's
about
coaxing you in,
issues about
Josie. He's
Josie.
reeling you in.
All right, sounds good. I
All
watched
right,
the other
guys.
one with that guy, so like I still watch you guys on the replay.
All right, guys. I'll talk to you all tomorrow. Bye. All right. So, see, there's good people that know what the rules are and the laws are and the regulations are and the policies are. They're not all out to just get you for what they're just coming to get your kids. Sal just said this. He wasn't even aware that these type of things happen, and they do. And so we need to just work hard as people that CPS are. People like us that are up against CPS, we need to educate people, because that's the missing link here, is people don't know that this stuff is going on. So make sure you tell a friend about what's going on. Tell somebody so you can spread the word. I'm CPS Punisher. I'm taking off. See you guys tomorrow.